Hi, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Debra Faulk, who is a dear friend and an amazing minister of the Unitarian Church. In that, she is a remarkable facilitator. That is what she does all day, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's 1 to 100 in the congregation, or whether she is in meetings across the country, even around the world. She's always facilitating. So, Debra, what makes it easy? To facilitate is to make it easy. And so it looks like you're always making it easy as a facilitator. So what works? What makes that work?
You know, when I think about facilitation, and I appreciate having this interview, this conversation, just recognizing how much of everything that I do is facilitation.
Yeah.
When I think about being a minister and what that means, it is about what binds us together. And to me, facilitation and making it easy and what binds us together is sort of at the root of what I think is of primary importance, which is relationship. So it's how are we in relationship with each other? And I think a really key part of facilitation for me is to lift that up so that it is actually absolutely a known thing rather than something that is covert. That we are in a relationship every time we're communicating with each other. And I think that's sort of at the very core of it for me. In my faith tradition, we talk about it being covenant. Covenant being a promise that we make to ourselves and to each other about how we're going to be with each other in a way that's respectful and honors the worth of whoever we are and wherever we are. So that's sort of at the core for me.
That's beautiful. And so how do you create the covenant? How do you facilitate that?
Sometimes it's a very concrete sort of, okay, let us create covenant together. What is it that we actually want to say we agree to do together? That would be more in probably a small group facilitation, or if I'm doing a training or something like that. And then sometimes it's if somebody comes to me for a pastoral visit, for example, which is another relationship, and I'm facilitating them coming to their own understanding. So my work is to hold the space for them to be able to bring the wisdom that's within them be out into the world so that it happens between us. And that's sometimes it's done with just a really simple question. But one of the things that I've really, really noticed in over the last, particularly the last 2 or 3 years, is how challenging it is for us to sit in silence. That the power of silence and the ability to listen deeply is not something that we particularly learn in our culture. And so I've been finding myself just how to move more and more into a place of comfort with the silence.
So you yourself are finding that you're wanting to put something into the silence as opposed to hold the silence, and then you hold yourself back, or this is you as the facilitator who observes this in your participants?
It's more in creating that covenant in how we're going to be, to allow space. And particularly in groups, there'll be a few voices that tend to dominate. So it's one of the strategies as a facilitator that we're always looking for ways to make sure that all the voices are heard. So creating an environment where holding silence is the norm allows for those folks who need a moment to be able to think about what they want to say, to have the space for that.
Wow. So if you set up in your agreement, in your covenant, that we respect silence, or however you structure that, then what happens the first time or second time when somebody forgets? How do you do that?
Well, one of the ways that in my own personal facilitation style is to give it to the group, so that it's not me. It's rather the group itself that is lifting it up. So sometimes people need something as concrete as like a talking stick or something like that, something, that gets passed, and in the intention of that, the silence is held. I mean, it depends on it. It obviously depends on the group and what the context is, but I think there's just different ways of. I'm just finding more and more people are needing to have that just some space, some time, some silence. I mean, our world is so busy. So how can I facilitate in a group or a service or a meeting that opportunity to just have a little moment of calm, to actually be present?
And as you do this, and you do it so remarkably well, and I have been privileged to that, and had found myself moved within that you are setting up in those silences and the covenant. What are you finding with your congregants or meeting members? How are they responding?
Yeah, one of the biggest affirmations, I would say, that has come to me is from from someone who's normally, they might be there, but they very rarely participate, very rarely say anything. Coming up to me after a meeting, and when they did participate, and acknowledging that it was because there was enough space. It was that has enabled them to be able to step into it and bring their wisdom out and share it. So that's always, it's always heartening. That's the good part of the work.
That is.
And I think it continually deepens relationships when we're willing to hold the silence together. I remember one of my professors at grad school saying that you can tell the maturity of a group by their ability to sit in silence together.
So shall we do that as we conclude our time? Shall we go out in silence? Thank you, Debra.